I am not a weatherman, but I have played one on TV sometimes, occasionally. And I know this. Some forecasts are absolutely correct. We've got one for you coming on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Yeah, so we welcome you into the DLLS Sports Studios, welcome you to the DLLS Rangers Podcast. And the weather reference at the beginning is because the Rangers game has been moved up an hour. And so that's one of the things we'll talk about. John Radigan, Jeff Wilson, Elijah Smith, the prophet over there. And before we even talk about the weather or Jacob deGrom, who's in the news, or Cody Bradford also, we must tell you, I'll tell you, I'm going to give you $44 to start the show, unless you're already a diehard. If you're not a diehard, $44 coming your way right now, because you will become a diehard. And when you do become a diehard, it'll be $79.99 to join. Right now it's $36.
Oh yeah, you're giving us we're just giving this away.
Giving $44 to you for simply becoming a diehard, which is something you're going to want to do. I know we're new, and you may not yet realize just all the stuff that we have. But believe me, you're going to want to be a diehard, so you might as well do it now. $36 to become a diehard. You get a free T-shirt with that, which is worth $35. So essentially, it's $1 to become a diehard.
It's such a good deal. I mean, you've got to pay for content these days. You have to pay for really good content these days. And we're great content, and we're less than anybody else out there.
Yeah,
all
by
right?
far.
And so you need to go ahead. It's not just Rangers coverage you're getting; it's coverage for all the teams, Cowboys, Stars, Mavs, in addition to us and any of our future endeavors. So do it. Get a free shirt like John and I are wearing, and gosh, it's just you can't beat it.
You're going to be glad you did. I know that. Jacob deGrom, not glad about why he was scratched today. Stomach bug. Ouch. We thought it might be weather-related because, again, the game was moved up an hour to try and get the game in before the rains came. So it's another one of those windy, cold, nasty days in Arizona, which somehow when you're in Arizona, Jeff, they feel worse, don't they?
Yeah.
They feel colder. They feel nastier because you're expecting sunny and 80 like we have here today. And you get that crappy weather out there. It just sucks. But what's even worse is a stomach bug. It's been going around the Rangers clubhouse. So deGrom, who was scheduled to pitch today, will not pitch today because he's got to recover from that. And, nobody's worried about Jacob deGrom, but he has only had the one start, and we're sneaking up on it here. We're 2 weeks away from opening day.
Yeah, it's possible that he's not completely stretched out to start the season, but and that's why you're going to have multiple inning relievers on that roster, because the Rangers knew the innings situation and how they might want to treat these guys early in the season and later throughout the season. Really, the two guys coming back from Tommy John surgery. So, the stomach bug. Evan Carter had the stomach bug. I don't know if he's patient 0 or not, but Marcus Semien had it yesterday. Now deGrom has it, and Semien and deGrom have just kids everywhere. Right. So maybe the kids picked it up and they got it from them, or maybe it's Evan Carter just spreading disease throughout the clubhouse. I don't know, but I'm glad I'm not there.
You are in close confines, especially in spring training. That clubhouse is large, but nowhere near as large as the one at home. So you're kind of right there with everybody. But one of those multiple innings guys that we have anticipated anyway will not be a multiple innings guy, at least not to start the season, because Bruce Bochy announced today what we speculated yesterday, and that is that Cody Bradford will not be ready for opening day. And they're going to actually shut him down for 10 days now. Yesterday, the word was 4 to 5. Abundance of caution, all that. The MRI was clean on the left forearm, but they just want to make sure he's okay. And so what that means, Jeff, if he's not going to start the opening day, not going to be on the roster for the opening day, he's going to be on the injured list.
Right.
That likely either Jack Leiter or Dane Dunning, who we thought were the two options to be that multiple inning guy, right? One of those two will likely be in the rotation.
Well, and I think it goes a little deeper than that, too. I think Kumar Rocker is back in play. And then Patrick Murphy, who's starting today against the Giants, he's in play. The Rangers really like him. And so they're going to stretch him out. They're going to see what he can get done. He doesn't have a ton of big league experience, but he started in his career. And, it's always one of these guys who creeps up and has an opportunity to surprise you, and Murphy might be the guy. I don't want to leave out Adrian Hauser, who the Rangers like and who has some serious pelts skins on his wall as a big league starting pitcher. So it's going to come down to there's a science, if you will, to figuring out the roster. Who has options? Who's on the 40-man roster? Who would need a 40-man spot? Do you have any fat to trim on the 40-man? It can get tough. And so, but I agree that Leiter is a very, I would say, heavy favorite.
Yeah, at this
point. To be the guy. But Rocker, who's supposed to pitch tomorrow, the weather's supposed to be crummy tomorrow too. Rocker, 4 innings tomorrow. And if the intra-squad game is any indication, the Rangers feel like he's back. All those early camp woes have been sorted out, and he's going to have a chance at it. We've talked about the structure of the bullpen and how you're going to do it. You have the 6 guys who have major league contracts, and Chris Young said those spots are spoken for, no matter how bad the performance has been for maybe a couple of them. But that leaves 2, and you need guys that can be optioned. Dunning and Leiter can be optioned. Mark Church could be optioned, but then Adrian Hauser can't be optioned. So it gets tricky. But yeah, I think some of the conversations I had yesterday, really one of the conversations I had yesterday, really put me on to Rocker, and that's a definite possibility.
Yeah, and certainly just because he had 2 bad spring outings doesn't take him out of the future plans or out of the thing. And then the other, consideration there, Jeff, is so a guy like Rocker, 2, 3, 4 days ago, they were thinking probably Rocker's going to start in the minor leagues and go be a starting pitcher, and that Jack Leiter, along with Dane Dunning, will be, multiple inning relief guys at the big league level. All this happens, it changes everything. Well, maybe you still want to keep those 2 guys in that role. Bring up Rocker, let him do what he does, and then he goes right back to the minors to be a starting pitcher again for the rest of the year. Dane Dunning in 2023 made it look easy to go from the bullpen to the starting rotation back to the bullpen. I just don't think it's usually that easy.
I agree, and because your routine changes dramatically. One day you're on a 5-day rotation, and you finish your start, and they're like, "Oh, all right, we need you back in the bullpen," and so you've got to be ready every day. You never know when your name's going to be called. Now they can kind of plan it out a little bit. You would suspect, oh, well, they might need him lighter behind deGrom or behind Molly. Even when Cody Bradford is deemed ready to go, they might have a little innings limit on him at that point. So, there are opportunities to schedule when he would pitch. So that would make it a little bit easier for him. But also, what if he's supposed to pitch on a Wednesday on 3 days rest and Tuesday on 2 days rest? The game goes 12 innings and the starter could only go 3. you're gonna get called upon. So things change. It's game to game. It's a fluid situation, and the best laid plans don't always come to fruition. So I just really think that though it's Leiter who's going to be in this rotation spot. But then where do you do it? Do you want him to pitch the last game at home of that opening series, or do you want him to start the first road game, which would be the Monday, the 31st? That's going to be I think that's Cincinnati's home opener.
Okay.
So it would be a pretty raucous crowd, raucous environment. He's pitched in those before. He pitched against the Yankees in September and did really well with a large crowd. Would you want him to make that start? So I don't know, but
yeah. And the other consideration there is deGrom.
Right.
Didn't you get indications last week that they may be more interested in having deGrom start in that fourth spot so that he doesn't have to necessarily worry about braving, what could be, in Cincinnati, it could be in the 30s for opening.
100%. And now that that's been broached, it's I really think he will start at home. But
yeah.
Who
knows? Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows? It'll be interesting to see. There is a lot to it. Bruce Bochy was asked about who he thought would take Cody Bradford's spot in the rotation. He didn't give anything up. He was pushed. What are the odds? Someone asked, what are the odds that it's not Leiter or Rocker? And he said, I'm not setting odds. So, then of course he's not. He's not tipping his hand. And not only, not just because he's trying to be coy about it, he doesn't know yet. Right? Let's see how the rest of this camp plays out before you make a decision and or, more importantly, announce a decision like that.
Let's be the manager here. Do you 100% trust, based on track record, that Leiter and Rocker are ready to do it?
Right.
And the answer is probably no.
Right.
If you're the manager. So would he trust then Dane Dunning more? Maybe.
Yep.
If they think that Dane Dunning's back to where he needs to be, would you trust Adrian Hauser, who probably has a ton of experience against the Reds, having pitched in that division for so long? So, Chris Young keeps saying we're going to take the 13 guys that gives the best chance to win, and that includes depth, and that includes Game 5 of 162. So, who's it going to be? They really don't know, and that's why they're looking at Patrick Murphy, who I'm not going to lie, I'd never heard of before he signed a deal with the Rangers.
I know.
That'll tell you something, that these guys are leaving no stone unturned in their search to put together the 13 best pitchers. So, we've said it. I don't know. I've said it 3 times. I think it's Rocker, or I'm sorry, I think it's Leiter, but it could go a lot of ways based on how they want to construct this roster and preserve depth.
Yeah, and if it's Leiter, it's based on what he's done in spring training, which has been great. And if it's someone else, that'll be other things that are thrown into the mix as far as considerations go. But it's like you said yesterday. I thought you said it so well. Games in April. If you win a game in April, it's one less that you have to win in September, right?
Yeah.
So and a manager has to look at it that way, especially a manager of Bruce Bochy's ilk, right, who's done it all. And it's just like we can't, quote unquote, throw away a game or give a game over to development in April any more than we can in September, because we have to win them all. We have to try and win them all.
Yeah, I mean, how razor thin was it just for the Rangers to get into the playoffs?
In 23.
In 23.
Yeah.
They were darn near not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they ended up winning the whole thing. So, and if with the parity in the league, maybe it's not as good as it was in 23, at least not the West. These teams all seem like they're going to be pretty even in the American League. And maybe the Orioles could jump out and win some games, maybe approach 100 wins, but there wasn't a 100 win team in baseball at all last year. So it's close, and if you can win a game on April 5th, by God, go win it.
Got to do what you can to win it, and that's certainly one of the huge considerations and factors that the Rangers will consider as they, look at all the different options here to replace Cody Bradford, at least at the start of the season. More coming up as we get to Corey Seager being pretty fired up about this team and about what happened last year. It's all coming next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
I told you a couple days ago I'd made a sleeper bet. It's 5. I was like, man, this is a layup. Well, you know what happens? Sometimes you miss layups.
Sure.
And I went 4 for 5. Local boy Miles Turner let me down. Needed him to hit 2 3-pointers. He only hit 1. He went 1 for 8.
Wow.
Come on, Miles. Help a brother out here.
Yeah.
So anyway, sleeper, you may know them as a fantasy place to do your fantasy leagues, but they're into the daily picks now, and I'm into the daily picks now, and it's great fun. You don't have to put too much money on the line. You can go as low as $1, and you'll follow games. You'll learn about players and stuff in various sports. I'm learning a lot about the NBA, and I can't wait for baseball season to start. And if you download the app and use the code DLLS Rangers, you can get up to $100 match on your first deposit.
Yeah, and it's the breadth of knowledge and of learning that you have there, and you can learn with this app too. Game Time. You can learn about different acts, different shows, different things. Like you think Game Time sounds like a sports app. It's not just a sports app. When a musician goes out on stage, they're like, game time. It's time. It's time to play. And it's what Game Time does is they provide you the opportunity to get there for any of those game times, whether it's a theater show, whether it is a musical concert, whether it's a game. And the Game Time app has guarantees for any seat that you want. They show you where the seat will be. They have a price guarantee. They have the prices locked in. You get your money back if anything happens to the show. Use the code DLLS at Game Time, $20 off your first purchase. All right. So Corey Seager, foul territory, which A.J. Przinsky does many of, former Ranger.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A.J. Przinsky does many of the interviews on this road show with foul territory. So they've been in Surprise. I'm sure they've been all over Arizona, but they were in Surprise chatting with a bunch of Rangers, and actually a couple that I saw, A.J. with Jake Berger. I may talk about that one in a second. It's kind of funny, and A.J. with Boch. But Corey Seager was interviewed as well. And one of the things Corey said in that interview was 2024 was the kick in the butt we needed to get us back where we belong. And that, I think, that is, to me, you talk about like bulletin board material, Jeff, from Corey Seager,
right,
who doesn't say that much. That is mic drop. That is the, we'll never know kind of statement from Corey Seager.
Well, I thought it was a kick on the other side. It was
for those of us,
a tough one. But if that's what they need, that's what they need. I think maybe you learn what it takes to be a championship club. The effect of a World Series has on a team that extra month. And Corey had won a World Series in 20, but it's only a 60-game season. Yeah, and it's not like they were wiped out and played almost 100. The Rangers played 179 games. The Dodgers might have played 75. Yeah, I don't even think they got to 75. I don't think
they got to 80. Yeah, no way. Yeah.
So it's they played 7, 6, and 2, so 50. So yeah, they played 75 games. So it's a different beast, and you if you think you've arrived, and they had 5 All-Stars. They thought they had it all figured out. They had the man of the ALCS and a sudden hero and Adolis Garcia. A lot of those guys got humbled. The game will humble you. That's something that I've heard since day one on the beat. Baseball will humble you if you think you got it all solved. No, you don't. So and you can go down a long line. It starts with Garcia. Simeon had a rough one. Josh Young was hurt, so I don't really blame him. Heim took a big step back. Dane Dunning took a step back. He was the Rangers pitcher of the year in 23. He's like, hey, shoot, I got him made. Maybe that's what he thought. I don't know. I doubt it, but something. He was humbled enough that he had to get back to work hard this season. And Simeon, they all had the plans by the end of the year what they wanted to do. Even Seager, he was injured obviously going into camp, and then started the season off. He realizes how important it is to have spring training. I think that reinforced things. And then you don't know what went on behind the scenes on the chemistry side, because all of a sudden Jock Peterson is on a white horse riding into town to save the clubhouse. Well, we thought the clubhouse was fantastic. So, some things weren't right last year, obviously, with the injuries, the lack of performance, but there had to be some underlying stuff that you're maybe starting to hear little whispers here and there about. And then you can kind of look and see who's back and who isn't and be like, oh, I wonder why he's not back. Well,
sure.
There's an answer.
Yeah.
And it's not always about baseball. So, that is interesting that Corey would go out and say that. He doesn't talk to us a lot. He talked on his first day in camp, and it was nice talking to him. But he's never in the clubhouse. He's not avoiding us. He does his own routine and everything. But I haven't had a chance really to talk to him other than just in passing since then. But those are pretty powerful words.
They are. And one of the other things he said regarding mentioning, excuse me, Jock Peterson coming in.
You all right there?
Yeah, I think I'll be okay. Got all choked up on Jock Peterson. But mentioning Jock Peterson coming in, he was asked, I don't remember the exact question, but basically, who do you like to watch hit? He goes, on this team? Yeah. Jock. I mean, it's got to be Jock. We've been friends since we were 18 years old.
Yeah.
And he said, I just love the way the distance he's come in his career. And then talked about him too in his life, right? And the fact that he now has 4 children and all those kinds of things. So what I think we see in a comment like that, because he could have gone anywhere. I mean, seems like right now you might like watching Wyatt Langford or Jake Berger, right? But Jock, okay, whatever. He could have said, I think what we're seeing is Corey Seager's fingerprints were on that, the acquisition of Jock Peterson. He was the scout, if you will, that said to the Rangers front office, we got to get some Jock Peterson up in here.
Well, Corey's contract speaks
Sure.
a lot of volume.
It does.
And I'm sure they had identified Jock because of what he does on the baseball field. He hits fastballs, he hits right-handers, and those were areas where the Rangers were no good. He's a DH, which we chronicled a few weeks ago. They were the worst in the league and second worst in baseball at that position. So once they identified him, they probably had to all right, is this a good guy? So who better to talk to than his former teammate? And when Seager was drafted, in 11, maybe 12, I don't remember. Jock was in the 2010 draft. So there's a little age difference there, but they're peers, and when you're 18, as Corey was, and you get sent out to Arizona and all of a sudden you're a professional baseball player, you're going to be buddies with whoever you want, whoever's out there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I mean, Jock's from the San Francisco area, Palo Alto. Corey's from, Charlotte area, a little bit north of Charlotte, and Dale Earnhardt's hometown, Kannapolis.
Yep.
2 different worlds there, and really they're 2 different guys. But Corey can let his hair down, I think. He just doesn't do it in public.
Sure.
And but they're on different paces. Jock's got 4 kids, and Corey and his wife Maddie are enjoying the no kids life right now. I'm sure kids are coming, but it's interesting to see, and they know each other well. They won a World Series together under trying circumstances. That 20 season, it was only 60 games, yes, but you couldn't go out and hang out, and you spent a lot of time together or talking on the phone or whatever it was. So it doesn't surprise me that they're both big fans of each other.
It doesn't surprise me, and yet it does. We said it right after we looked at the interview, and I was like, that's a strange marriage or mix of two men, right? Because their personalities appear to be so opposite. But to your point, we probably don't see all of, we only get a glimpse of Corey's personality, true personality.
Yeah, and but you did see even in 20, but really Rangers fans saw it in 23 when he hit the home run in Game 7 of the ALCS, or was it Game 6? Game 6 or 7, and then hit the home run in Game 1 of the World Series.
Yeah,
just the raw emotion that he let out. The guy does care, and his teammates know that, and yeah, they see the side to him that media doesn't, and he definitely wants it that way, and that's fine.
Sure.
But he's got some personality. He's a pretty funny guy when he wants to be.
Sure, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about center field. Amazingly, I saw Jared Sandler tweet out that the player in Rangers history with the second most starts at center field, at the position center field, Leody Taveras.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Behind only Oda B. McDowell.
Oh, wow.
And I remember when, way back in the fall when the offseason first started, we were asked to kind of name our all Rangers team, each of us. And coming up with the center fielder wasn't super easy. I mean, I went with Josh Hamilton, who didn't spend much time there.
Yeah.
You went with somebody who was only here a couple years.
Yeah.
So there's never been anybody sort of ensconced in that position. And now we all know, and we've talked about it a lot, it's one of the bigger battles out there. And Leody and Evan Carter both, either one of them could be the center fielder for a long, long time. Leody's still young. Obviously, Evan is. He's only 22. But we also have Kevin Pillar in the mix. And it's very interesting to think that because these two young guys still haven't demonstrated that ability to hit left-handed pitching, man, you've got a real conundrum still in center field.
You do. And we talked about it earlier with Carter, and his at-bats haven't been great, and he's still trying to find some things after missing all that time. And meanwhile, Leody's maybe not hitting for a ton of average, but his at-bats have been great. He's not chasing as much and hitting the ball a lot harder. So, and then there's Kevin Pillar, who's starting today. Obviously, he's a former Giant, so he probably didn't mind making the trip over there to San Francisco.
Sure.
But, gosh, what's going to happen at a critical position? I mean, center field's one of those up the middle. You win up the middle. It's one of those premium defensive positions. If you have a good one, you're in good shape. And the Rangers have, Carter and Taveras and Pillar. Their defense is unquestioned.
Yeah.
I know some people thought Taveras was lazy at times last year, but that's just kind of the way he moves. He's not being lazy. And he plays pretty shallow. So I think that it'll get figured out. It's going to get sorted out. These next 10 days, 12 days, something's going to click. They're going to get enough at-bats. The Rangers are going to have enough to evaluate them. As Justin Grounds asked, could Osuna win a job over Carter? I don't see that. I really don't. Osuna's not on the 40. He's having a great spring, and everybody loves him. But he also has never played above Double-A. So I still think he will be missing the club, but he's definitely made an impression. So I don't know. If there's an injury, if there's a trade, then I think Osuna comes into play. And don't sleep on Dustin Harris. All right, do not sleep on Dustin Harris. He can hit for power. He's fast. He covers a lot of ground. The defense probably isn't. It definitely isn't as good as the three we mentioned. But he can play. He can play, and the Rangers are really happy with the improvements he made in the offseason.
But at this point, oh boy, we got to pick this back up. We're going to pick this back up because I want to go somewhere with Jeff next, and also about Evan Carter. And also, Rarities said at the very beginning of the program he loved the television presentation on the RSN yesterday. We weigh in on our thoughts about that next. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
I have one more opportunity, John, this spring
Yeah.
to try out Waymo.
Yeah, didn't get in one.
No,
yet.
I haven't yet. You know, when you get out to the West Valley, it's a little tough when you're not getting into the heart of Phoenix and Scottsdale and Tempe, where Waymo autonomous cars are more prevalent.
Yep.
That's what it is, though. It's basically a hailing service. You have a app on your phone, you download it, and you just stand there, and you know the app figures it out, sends it to the car. The car comes, picks you up, you hop in, and surprise, it's automated, which is not bad at all. You don't have to worry about what smells coming from the front, any conversations, anything like that. So download the Waymo app, and if you're out on the town and want to give it a shot, please do. They're a sponsor of our show for spring training, and we greatly appreciate them.
Yep, we do, and it's a way of the future. There's no doubt about that. Something that should be a way of your future is a Saturday neon sign. They're affiliated, as you know, with 50 colleges and universities. They have inexpensive neon signs that look neon but aren't really neon. Neon has become a misnomer because neon is a gas, and we don't use gas in these signs anymore. But they still look really cool, just like the old gas neon signs. So you should get yourself a sign. You can have any one of those 50 colleges or universities. I'm sure they'll expand their list and continue to do so. But you could also have one made for yourself. And so we really think you should do that. I think I should do that. And I really intend to investigate that further very soon. But if you go to SaturdayNeon.com and you type in the code DLLS, well, guess what you'll get? 10% off your first Saturday Neon. So I wanted to ask, Jeff, you really believe, I think at this point still, regardless of struggles against lefties and needing at-bats, you believe Evan Carter makes this club out of camp?
Yeah, I do, but I don't believe it as much as I did.
Okay, so you're not
3 weeks ago.
You're wavering a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I just basically when Bruce Bochy said what he said, I think it was Sunday, and basically made Evan Carter sound like a Double-A player, or a guy who's not going to be on the major league roster to start the season. And when I pointed that out to Bruce, he said, "Well, that wasn't my intention at all. He just needs at bats. Get him at bats, let him figure it out, and something's going to click. If his body's moving right, Evan Carter's going to be A-okay. It's just a matter of seeing the pitches is right. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. He missed so much time last year.
Yep.
At such a young age, in his career, at such a key developmental area. Yeah, he had a great postseason and great September and all that stuff. You add it all up, and I think it's 121 at bats. And sure, some were on the big stage and all that, but you also got to consider that scouts look at those games too. And you could start to see as the playoffs lingered that teams had kind of figured out something on Evan Carter. He would hit the ball down the line. He had a big double in Game 7 of the ALCS, a hard grounder down the line. But he seemed to be driving the ball less and chasing a little bit more. And so, and that's understandable. It's a big stage, a lot of pressure, young guy. Maybe you don't know how to handle it. You definitely have never seen the pitcher before. So I can get why he struggled, but also it kind of exposed him a little bit. Other teams have paid attention. So how much was he limited because of injury, and how many bad habits did that create? All this stuff, all these things have to be figured out, and the only ones who can figure it out are Evan and the hitting coaches.
Yes.
And so it's and they've been working on it obviously since he could start swinging a bat. He spent most of his offseason here rather than going home to Eastern Tennessee. So he's been working at it, and it's gonna click at some point. And just based on the follow-up I had with Bruce Bochy, he thinks it's going to happen here pretty soon.
Yeah, and likely it will because, again, we had Ross Fenstermaker on the show, and he raved about Evan's baseball IQ, and we've certainly seen that too. And he came in as the little savior, right?
Yeah.
And full count, right? Because
Right.
he's so good at the plate as far as seeing pitches and taking the ones that you should take and swinging at the ones that you should swing at. That hasn't been very prevalent yet in spring training, right? That great eye. That's one thing. But there's a few realities here. One reality is you're not guaranteed a spot, right? When you're the Evan Carters of the world, good as he is, great of a prospect as he is, you're not guaranteed a spot. And one of the other realities for Evan Carter is that this team doesn't have the time or the patience or the willingness to let somebody develop at the major league level. Not right now, not this year.
Yeah, and we asked Chris Young last spring. I remember it pretty clearly. Is there any way that Evan Carter doesn't make the team?
Yeah.
And he said, well, maybe if he goes 1 for 32.
Okay.
And he didn't. He did a little bit better, but he had really good at-bats last spring before his back started to hurt. He hit a lot of balls hard right at guys. You're not seeing that right now. Does that mean that it can change or can't change? No, it can absolutely change. I mean, Kumar Rocker figured it out, or appears to have figured it out. Evan Carter has every opportunity to figure this out. I mean, Adolis Garcia has some things to figure out with his new swing. Now, he's in a little bit different place than Evan, but nevertheless, there's still things that a lot of these guys from last year have to improve upon. But the good news is Evan's healthy. Above all else, Evan Carter is healthy. So start there, and if he is healthy, then good. Everything should eventually fall into line.
Yeah, absolutely. We're counting on it, and even if he does start in the minor leagues, which certainly is a possibility, but even if he does, it's only to develop more. Right, it's only to get better, and we believe that this is the guy with that baseball IQ, with his work ethic, and with his attitude. He'd be back in the majors and be what we thought he was previously in no time at all. All right, so let's talk about this broadcast that Rarity said loved the Rangers presentation yesterday, and there was a lot to love. I thought it was really slick and clean and good. And those were the kinds of things I was looking for. And frankly, Jeff, the kinds of things I expected, right? It's those opens. And I love the open where, Chuck Morgan, intones, it's baseball time in Texas. Yeah. Of course, the late great Mark Holtz's line that he used to say, I know he said it on the television broadcast. I think he started it when he was still doing radio. But it's a great line. And anyway, they've got Chuck to voice that at the very beginning, and then they have the announcers were on you, and that was the thing. Once we got past some of the production elements, to me, Jeff, it was so much like the broadcast that we've been watching.
Sure,
the faces, the names, the people, the voices, they're the same. Our friend Laura Stickles was on for the first time, but other than that, everything was pretty familiar. David Murphy. Obviously Dave Raymond, we had, as you do in spring training, a couple of different interviews. I know they interviewed Elvis, Adrian, and I think Boch all during the game, but that happens during spring training games.
It does, because at some point there are guys in the game who don't need to see them, basically.
Yep.
You'd be okay if you missed their at bat or missed their inning. I did like the times Laura had the opportunity. It was a good, clean, professional delivery. I thought she didn't seem starstruck or stumbling
overwhelmed.
Yeah. And then there were a few minor things though that happened because of the structure of spring training.
Sure.
The games don't start at 2:07 or 3:07. They pretty much get started right on time.
Right away.
And so that doesn't allow, John, as you explained to me when we're walking in, that little brief time to throw it down to Laura and then get it back to the booth for the first pitch. Because the first pitch of the game, I think, was hit for a single, or maybe it was the second pitch while Laura was introducing herself. And, they came back from break once a little earlier, I thought, than they were ready for. And I think you heard Dave kind of telling a story. And then, when Adrian was on, it seemed like his mic was a little far from his mouth, and so the jets were sweeping overhead, and from Luke Air Force Base, so it sounded like we were under attack, and you couldn't hear him at some times. But that's spring training stuff.
Yeah, it is. That's all minor stuff. And look, that reality, like the Adrian thing. The audio person, he called the A2. It's the second audio person on the show. He sets that mic on Adrian in the dugout between innings.
Yeah.
And then he gets out of the dugout, right? Because he's not allowed in there. And so then Adrian's sitting in the dugout. Well, you can't, as an audio guy, you're dying. You're sitting there going, oh my God, I need to adjust his mic.
Yeah.
And you can't, because it's, game action, and you're not allowed to do that. But so that's one of those things, you're right, that happens. I mean, and truly, I'm not a huge fan, to be honest, even though I was in broadcasting, not a huge fan of the in-game interview anyway. And that's one of the reasons. It's just hard to make it clean. I think it's hard to get the full attention of whoever it is that you're interviewing, because they've got something more important to do than talk to you. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion on that thing. But yeah, I agree with everybody else. I thought it was clean. I thought it was, it was exactly what I thought it would be. Patrick Modrovsky is a name you'll continue to hear, because he is the producer of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And Patrick's a longtime friend of mine, and we're a colleague. We worked together for years and years and years. So anyway, he does a great job. And this is his breakout, and I was very proud. I haven't called him yet. I got to call him on the way home, but very proud to see, how he helped pull all of this together. And credit, of course, as we've had from other people who came on the show, to the Angie Swints of the world and the Jim Cochrans who we've had on the show.
For sure.
These people were down in the dirt doing the nuts and bolts of getting this all pulled together. The biggest part, though, of this whole process wasn't what was going to be on TV, because that was pretty well established. They have same people, right? That was established. The biggest part of it was where you're going to watch it on TV, and will you be able to? And that is the reason that everybody from Ray Davis to Neil Liebman and everybody else that had a hand in this should pat themselves on the back, because it was on Channel 33 yesterday. It will be, for the first 3 spring training games. Then it'll be on the network. They'll all be on Victory. Everybody can watch them.
Yeah, that's been missing. But yeah, that's the goal, to make sure people can see it. Honestly, you can look at a Rangers broadcast in May and compare it to a broadcast of the postseason on Fox, and they're very similar. I mean,
sure, yeah,
you're the names and people doing the announcing are different, but baseball's baseball. It's still calling plays and all of that, and filling the time in the pauses in a game, and there are fewer of those because of the pitch clock, thank God. And so yeah, that's not different. I think the next big thing that will be new to the fans, though, is the pregame show, which you talked about. And they might put some different bells and whistles in the broadcast, maybe from a statistical thing or whatever. But you're not, they weren't reinventing the wheel.
Yep, absolutely.
They were the thing they're reinventing, and not really reinventing, but they're getting fans reacquainted to broadcasts, and that's the goal.
Yeah, so many fans just haven't seen the Rangers local broadcast for years because it was so difficult to get. I see All About Sports Zone says thought David Murphy's mic was a little off. I did too, actually. Murph's not as sort of quiet or background as he sounded, and those are all just very minor technical things that can be worked out, and for whatever reason weren't yesterday. But that has no that's not any indication of the people and how it'll be. I know the people who do those A1 and A2 jobs here, and the people out there in Arizona are different. So it's just
and I mean, and the booth is smaller than
tiny
than where our table here. It's tight, and you got to have a third person in there. So I mean, you're not spread out and conversational. Like sometimes they'll show the booth during a game. It's like they're kind of spread out.
Yeah,
there's like maybe a more space between them than you and I have. But maybe Dave's like, He's right here. Do I really need to speak that loudly?
Right.
I don't know. But
and yeah, even the Rangers, TV home booth, it's huge. It's at least as big as this room, and you guys
100%.
you can't see, but it's a very big room. So
it's as big as maybe your master bedroom.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's very very
huge.
large. Yeah. So anyway, it was a good debut. It was very nice. It was something that we'll all look forward to seeing on a regular basis, even every home Friday game on Channel 33. That'll be nice to see. So let's get to our cleanup segment next because, man, there's a lot to talk about. There's some fun stuff in there, including how you can get one of those Tetas hats.
Woohoo!
Next, DLLS Rangers Podcast. We don't want you to forget, though. We said it at the start. We'll say it again. $36. This deal won't last for too much longer. So it's an introductory offer. Essentially, the springboard for it was NFL free agency. But guess what? It doesn't matter that little graphic right there says Dallas Cowboys Podcast, because Rangers, Stars, Mavs fans, any fan can take advantage of this deal. And we have content for each and every one of you. Jeff writes great stuff. He'll write it almost every day during the season, and he's been writing almost every day during spring training. We also have Clarence Hill and Joe Hoyt, who are working on the Cowboys beat. We've got Sam Nestler on the Stars beat, and of course, we've got Tim Cato on the Mavericks beat. So we have you covered. It's great stuff. It's worth a hell of a lot more than $36, but it's damn sure worth $36 a year.
Oh my God! It's $3 a month. All right, let's break it down.
It does one newspaper one Dallas Morning News when you buy it now. I think one is more than three now.
Yeah, I
don't remember, but I don't know.
And so what is it? It's like 10 cents a day, right?
10 cents for this great content.
So, and you get a shirt.
Yeah,
you get a shirt, for crying out loud. The shirts are valued at $35. So
Absolutely.
what a hell of a deal. Banger, as the kids say.
Yeah,
it's a banger.
It's a banger. Deal. No brainer.
Yeah, and then you see the shirts.
Yeah,
John
the shirts
and I are
cool
wearing
too.
Our general. These are non-themed, non-Rangers themed shirts. These are more just supporting DLS as a crew. But look up there, store.allcitynetwork.com. Those are some 2 of the 6 Rangers themed shirts I believe we have.
Okay.
But you can get them for all the sports. And gosh, again, take advantage of this deal. It's crazy, and you're kind of crazy if you don't.
Yep. Okay. We'd like you to not be crazy. That's exactly what we'd like you to not be right now. So you saw we had the story earlier in the week about the and I guess it was New Era. We don't want to blame the Rangers. We don't want to even blame apparently MLB. New Era.
I think I said Fanatics.
Yeah, I think it was might have been some misinformation about it, but it was New Era that came up with the design of a hat for each Major League Baseball team, where they had their name across the bill. Of course, Texas, in the case of Oakland or Sacramento, Athletics, right? Whatever. And then in the middle of the bill was a large representation of the first letter of the team's name, in this case, Texas. So it said TE. The X was covered. It was still there, but you could barely see it, covered with the large TAS. TETAS is a slang for vulgar slang for boobies, basically.
For lady parts.
Yeah, in Spanish. And somehow those hit the market. And they've been immediately, as soon as somebody finally realized it, got off the market, but enough people bought them that there they are. You can get them for as cheap as $750, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean,
somebody paid
$15,
$18, $20, even $30.
Probably $40. Hats are expensive these days,
okay.
John. But anyway, you turned out a huge profit. So I got to get my hands on one.
No kidding.
We could rob the team store.
Well,
if they were in the team store.
I don't know if they're there, but they were taken from the Rangers online, store right away. And who would know all of the approvals that are necessary for something like this? But I just wonder who lost their damn job, right? I mean, or were they trying? I don't know. Maybe they wanted to get talked about like this because, look, okay, it's conceivable that, you just didn't have any Spanish speakers around and you didn't know that word. But the A's one had A and an apostrophe S, and then that apostrophe S kind of matched up with the S at the end of athletics, and you had ass. So, I mean, maybe they were trying to be sort of salacious and trying to be sort of, hey, look at us, I don't know. If they were, I suppose it worked.
Well, the Astros is like asshos.
Asshos, that's right. That's right.
And it might be right in some cases.
Well, absolutely.
But nevertheless.
Yeah.
So New Era makes the hats. Fanatic sells the hats.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
So,
all right.
But okay. So it's not one person who's involved
there's
in this thing.
You
make a presentation to somebody. Right?
Man,
and you have somebody, you have a designer.
Layers and layers of people
and
who
probably
have to
more than one
this.
designer.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, yeah, this looks great.
I can't even imagine.
Tetas. I wonder if that means something in a different language.
Yeah. Nah, couldn't. Yeah. How could it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're saying. We're saying Texas, and that's the T. No, that didn't fly. So anyway, that was fun. Nice distraction, nice diversion. And if you've got one, nice profit. I mean, I don't know if they're selling yet for $1,000 a piece, but
it said sold on that graphic.
Oh, did it?
Sold.
It's already been sold. Okay. Well,
so
good.
Those people are selling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. See, sold March 12th. Yeah. I mean, $999.99.
Wow. $1,000 for a $40 hat. Yeah, that's awesome.
You bet my arms are popping there, Leo. No gun show. This is good enough.
Yeah, look at them.
That's another thing. These shirts will make your arms look falsely big.
Yeah.
Now, there's some meat on there. It was a good day yesterday at the gym, and we did some more curls today.
Little arm day.
So yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, I am popping. What can I say?
All right, this is a relief. Anybody who likes, as we do, Bobby Witt Jr.
Oh yeah,
we love him. We love his dad. We've known his dad. I've known his dad since 1990. For goodness' sake, and so happy that if you saw him get hit by a pitch yesterday, it looked so much like Josh Young getting hit last year. Got him right here, and the reaction looked the same. And Bobby told, I think he might have even said while he was standing there, oh my God, I can't feel my hand. I can't feel my fingers, right? I mean, this appeared to be that. And we know what Josh went through to get back from that. As it is, he has no fractures. He has what they're calling a left forearm contusion, and he's going to be fine. But that moment, I mean, and you know what? He may get in touch with Josh Young and find out all the different stuff that Josh is going to use. I mean, that might be your sort of come to Jesus moment on something like that. Like, I've got to try and protect myself here.
Just walk across the complex, or they could meet at home plate and talk about it. But that is frightening. And I said it with Garrett Cole. I've said it with others. You want the best players in baseball playing. You want to see the best players do their thing, and certainly, especially when it's a local guy who with ties to the Rangers, he's just a good kid. My God, and he's still a kid. All right, he's still a kid. So you hope for the best, and it's a relief that he is apparently going to be okay. I mean, you can always go back and get a second X-ray and see a crack. But with Josh, it was like, oh yeah, that's broken.
Oh, it's shattered. I mean, it was shattered.
We're in trouble here. Actually, they thought, and that even then they thought it was like, okay, it's just a fracture. We're gonna be okay. And then the surgeon got in there and was like, holy crap, get me some glue. And had to put that thing back together. So that's scary. And also, he's on my fantasy baseball team. So I need him. Yeah,
need him.
Yeah, we're drafting right now. You might have just heard my computer say you are on deck. So I'm waiting for somebody to make a pick right now.
And then you pick.
And then I pick. I'm gonna try to get Danny Jansen, the Rays catcher. It's a 36 player rosters.
Okay.
And so I have a great core, but the rest of my team, I've never won the league, and I swear to God, I've been in it almost 30 years. I did finish in the money last year though, so
that's good.
Yeah.
that's good. And it was a nice transition because you mentioned a Rays catcher, Danny Jansen, who apparently, for as long as he will play for the Rays, will not have a home to call home. I don't know if this is true.
It's just a one-year deal, but yeah.
Okay. No, Jeff and I were talking about this, though. Apparently, the Rays stadium is off the table in St. Petersburg.
I mean, how can they screw this up?
Yeah. So they had this new deal. It was going to be this beautiful stadium, similar, right near where it is now. And then the hurricane came through and took out the old one, necessitating them to move for this season up to the Yankees spring training stadium. And now they've taken off. And they were going to be there for, I think, 3 years until they got the new one built. Now the new one's gone, back to square one. I mean, where are they going to play? There's a chance this team could get moved out of there. You know, we've heard before about maybe even splitting the season and playing half of the games in Montreal, which would be ridiculous. I mean, it really would. And I'm not saying Montreal would be a ridiculous place to have a team.
No.
I thought it was great there before, and it'd be great to have one there now. You can't play half your home games in Tampa or St. Pete and half of them in Montreal. That's stupid. But that said, you don't think they're ready to swoop in? You don't think Nashville's ready to swoop in?
Yeah, Nashville, I think, is going to be hard to beat. Although, what territory is Nashville in? There are a lot of Braves fans there in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's right.
So I would imagine, though, that there's not a huge territory dispute, or else the Braves would have already spoken up about that. Montreal, they're the Nationals now. So for those of you who play that game on Baseball Reference, the grid, the daily grid, you can use old Expos for Nationals, and you can get some sneaky points there.
Sure.
But, I think that Nashville makes a lot of sense. I know there's been a group in Portland, Oregon, that would like to have a club, but Portland's weather's weird. It can be rainy, and then it can be 100.
Yeah,
and then it's only 3 hours from Seattle, so I don't know if the Mariners.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of Mariner territory up there, no doubt about that.
Nashville, though, has a good group, some former major leaguers in the group. Crap, it seems like half of baseball lives there in the off season, so maybe they get a lot of guys who want to stay home and play for them. But the Sounds are the AAA team, and I think that they would want that name to carry over. It's pretty cool, and they have that guitar scoreboard out there in Nashville.
Yeah.
They were a Rangers affiliate for one full season, and then COVID hit, and they didn't play, and then the next thing you know, the commissioner realigned everything, and it's been Round Rock ever since. So it worked out for the Rangers, I guess. But it just does feel like an Oakland situation. Crappy stadium.
Yeah.
Not great fans, or let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Great fans, but not great numbers.
Not enough of them. Yeah.
So, that's. I think their days might be numbered, or they're just leveraging.
Or this is posturing. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So one last thing, Prophet. I forgot to ask you. Did we get the samurai sword guy? Oh, let's play this. This is unbelievable. The Cubs and Dodgers are for sure the Cubs are there. Dodgers, I think, have arrived in Japan, too. Take a look at this. We're getting it. It's,
Seiya Suzuki.
Suzuki has a samurai sword in his hand, and he's taking batting practice with it. Now watch. He hits the ball, and he cuts it in half. He cut it in half. Another one. Right now, you saw that one best, and then he cuts that one in half, and he hits, or one of them hits the camera. And he's, I'm so sorry. No, he is hitting those balls. Two things about that. He's hitting them with a tiny little blade, right? The bats usually, he's tiny little blade, cutting them in half. And that blade is that sharp.
Yeah, that's like a Ginsu knife.
That's really a Ginsu knife. That is unbelievable that you have that sort of that, because he hit every one of them.
Right.
He didn't foul one off. I mean, I guess they were all fouled off because they don't go very far when you cut them in half. But he didn't foul one off. He hit them square each time and cut through them every time.
That's what I remember. One of Henry's first coaches was like, imagine you have a sword and you're just trying to cut the ball in half.
Yeah.
You know, and he just literally did
That
it.
was it.
I hope, you know, these teams go through so many baseballs, but I hope they pick those up at the Tokyo Walmart or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Not sacrificing real baseballs to.
They might have been softer.
Violent end.
They might have been softer than normal baseballs. Who knows? Still, the ability by Suzuki to cut each one of those things in half as he did, amazing to see. Of course, there's a series there, a 2-game series in Japan, and I saw pictures of the Tokyo Dome and everything else. It looks great. It looks fun. All that said, it's a Major League Baseball game, and yet on the MLB app they keep saying 14 days until opening day.
Well, we talked about it yesterday.
I know. I'm kind of like, is it? Is it really? I don't know. Okay. That's it. We got to get out of here. Thank you. It's been fun. Appreciate the chats. Don't forget to become a diehard. That deal's going away soon, and we'll be back tomorrow, one last day this week of the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.